Is LIV Golf dead as we know it? First rumors of Norman being fired, then Koepka wanting out, and now the DP Tour not letting LIV players participate in their events? What more will it take for the league to fold? Or can they push back through the recent news regarding their players' abilities to earn world ranking points and participate in events outside of the 14 LIV events? In today's video, we are going to be looking at the latest blow to LIV Golf. It was dealt by the DP World Tour. The DP World Tour won its legal battle to be able to suspend and fine LIV Golf players who featured in conflicting events without permission after the independent UK-based panel of sports resolutions found in its favor. It was announced on Thursday. Members of the DP World Tour, also known as the European Tour, who played in the Saudi-backed LIV Golf's opening tournament last June, sought a conflicting event exemption, but the request was denied, and they received 3 event bans and fines. Ian Poulter, Adrian Otaegui, and Justin Harding appealed against the decision, and the punishments were out on hold pending an appeal, which allowed the LIV players to continue competing on the DP World Tour without penalty. The number of appellants increased to 16, but Sergio Garcia, Charles Schwartzel, Brandon Grace, and Otaegui withdrew before the 5-day sports resolutions hearing took place in February. The appeal panel found that the sanctioned players committed serious breaches of the code of behavior of the DP World Tour's regulations by playing in LIV events despite their release requests having been refused. The appeals were dismissed, and each of the appellants were ordered to pay the fine of £100,000, $124,540, originally imposed by the DP World Tour, it added. The panel found that the DP World Tour Chief Executive Keith Pelley acted entirely reasonably in refusing releases, and that the regulations cannot be said to go beyond what is necessary and proportionate to the DP World Tour's continued operation as a professional golf tour. Pelley welcomed the decision, saying, "It's great that it's given us clarity not just for golf but for sports organizations," Pelley said. "Sports organizations now look at this landmark case and understand that they have rules and regulations. There's rules and regulations everywhere, and it's not okay to just sign up for something and then just arbitrarily decide to not adhere to those rules and regulations. That's the way the world works. That's life." Westwood, Poulter, Sergio Garcia, Martin Kamer, and Graham McDowell are household names in European golf, but now compete on the LIV Tour. "It's their choice," said Pelley. "They have chosen where they want to play. They knew that there was going to be consequences. I've said all along, I don't begrudge any of them for going at any time. But you can't break rules and regulations that are set up by the members for the members that they have signed up to with no consequences. It doesn't make logical sense. There's going to be a lot of collective discussions and collective joint decision-making, similar to the way that they went through the process to do the very first fine at the Centurion Club," Pelley said. "We are grateful for the fact that the panel felt that was a reasonable and proportionate fine. As you know, there are a lot. Not only LIV events, Asian Tour events, other tour events that players ask for releases. And some of those have been rejected, and now we have to go back and look at those. What we will do is we will have discussions with our tournament committee, with our board, with our legal advisors, with our senior staff to determine what is fair and proportionate, and that's the process that we're going to take." The PGA Tour, in a decision released moments after play in the lucrative Breakaway Series inaugural event last June, suspended players who played in the LIV Golf event and said anyone else who makes the jump will face the same fate. Critics have said the $255 million LIV Series is a vehicle for Saudi Arabia to try and improve its image in the face of criticism of its human rights record. The DP World Tour versus LIV Golf hearing began in London on February 6, 2023. The implications are huge, and understandably, you might still have a lot of questions about what is going on. Who is involved? Why are they involved? Honestly, the list is endless. That is why we have decided to help you with this handy guide. The first thing to point out is that this was not a court case, but a sports arbitration hearing overseen by sports resolutions. Let's try to make this all a bit simpler by going back to the very beginning. LIV Golf held their inaugural event at the Centurion Club last June. Lots of players requested tournament releases from the DP World Tour to participate in the $25 million prize purse event. but the tournament conflicted with the Scandinavian mixed played on the European-based circuit. The players were denied the releases, but some disregarded them and played anyway. It got a little bit more complicated as some players had already penned multi-year contracts with the Saudi-financed tour. DP World Tour Chief Executive Keith Pelly later announced those players, later referred to as rebels, were to be fined £100,000 and suspended from the Genesis Scottish Open and the Barbasol Championship and the Barracuda Championship. England's Ian Poulter was one of 3 players who appealed the decision to Sports Resolutions. Joining Poulter was Spain's Adrian Otaegui and South African's Justin Harding. The number of appellants increased to 16, but Sergio Garcia, Brandon Grace, and Charles Schwartzel withdrew their names. Long story short, a decision on the ruling was stayed and no punishments were enforced. This subsequently allowed LIV Golf League players to continue competing on the circuit. 13 players joined the appeal, and well, this is where it gets a bit tricky, as the 5-day hearing was held behind closed doors. What we did know is that 2 King's Counsels, a barrister or solicitor recognized as an expert in their field, along with former High Court Judge Philip Sycamore, held the arguments by both sides. They argued that as independent contractors, they have the right to play anywhere, providing they have the full criteria for membership on any given tour. The appellants argue that they have not been prevented from teeing it up on rival circuits in the past, pointing to the fact that players competed in conflicting PGA Tour events before the DP World Tour entered into a strategic alliance with the North American circuit. They argued LIV Golf is no different from any other golf tour and should be recognized as such. The position of the DP World Tour was that players competing in conflicting events has a negative effect on player participation, TV contracts, and sponsorships. The DP World Tour argued that it has the right to deny the releases. In a nutshell, similar to the PGA Tour, the European Tour does not want its current members to be able to skip events on their tour to receive payment on the Saudi-backed tour. It is not fair to members who elected not to take a cash payment to depart the European Tour if they are still allowed to play in it. The hearing concluded in early February as they recently reached a decision the week before LIV and non-LIV golfers were set to match up in 2023's first major, the Masters. Sports arbitrations are quicker and cheaper, meaning that any appeals would likely head to the courts, and that is fully expected to happen. LIV golfers need this to remain relevant both in the World Golf Rankings and for the European side in the Ryder Cup. LIV Golf players are definitely suspended by the PGA Tour, and there is an ongoing antitrust lawsuit working its way through the U.S. court system, with LIV golfers facing further fines and punishments should they continue to compete in DP World Tour events. It means they will likely not even bother competing on the former European Tour circuit. The Times now indicates that the likes of Poulter and Westwood will likely rescind their membership of the DP World Tour to avoid any further fines and suspensions on the circuit. It also means they will have limited opportunities to earn qualifying points for the 6 automatic places in Europe's 12-man Ryder Cup team. Beyond that, the LIV players would have to rely on Luke Donald for a captain's pick. Given that there's a lot of animosity from Wentworth HQ, it is unlikely Donald would pick any of the rebels. If LIV players had won, they would have been able to compete on the DP World Tour. A number of LIV players might have started playing in European tournaments to gain world ranking points. LIV are currently without official World Golf Ranking accreditation, which means that unless exempt, they face an increasingly difficult task of being able to qualify for golf's 4 major championships. Cameron Smith, one of LIV's marquee signings, has claimed the World Golf Ranking system is now obsolete. While LIV does have some of the game's top players, they are still limited based on the lack of accreditation. So it will be interesting how LIV responds following this announcement and the 2023 Masters. We have now come to the end of this video. What do you think LIV Golf should do next? Can they ever be accepted by other golf leagues? Do they have a case at all? What do you think will happen after this? More cases to come? Or is this the end? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Do well to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon in order to get notifications whenever we post another mind-blowing video. See you in the next video. Stay golfing!